Okay, those are images coming in of the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's just landed in Israel. After Biden and Sunak, the French president has now reached Israel to show his solidarity with Israel after the October 7 attack by Hamas on Israeli citizens. That war is still ongoing. And you can see there the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's just landed in Tel Aviv, Israel. They're greeted by Israeli officials at the tarmac. The French President, of course, among many international leaders who have in fact landed in Israel to show their solidarity with Israel, the Israeli leadership in person. They've supported Israel's right to defend itself, though, of course, expressing their concern over the growing humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip, appealing to Israel to allow for humanitarian aid to reach Gazans, at least through, of course, the Rafah border crossing with Egypt. Our Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, is joining me over the phone line right now. Geeta, we're seeing images of Emmanuel Macron, who's just landed in Tel Aviv. This, of course, another high-profile visit after US President Joe Biden and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
Well, that's right. Another high-level visit. This even as we've seen the biggest protests against Israeli action in Paris, in France. The show of solidarity by the French president itself goes to show that the West stands together with Israel in the right to self-defense, but also the conversations are underway with regards to the humanitarian cost. U.S. has also expressed concern. Internally, they are in conversation. There's a message from the Arab world. So we'll have to wait and see what the conversation between President Macron and Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to be, Paulami, because it will certainly be about standing with Israel in this difficult time, when there's a massive hostage crisis that Israel is dealing with, but also discuss the concerns of the Arab world and the concerns of the international community with regards to the civilian cost of life.
That's right. Also, Geeta, if you could get a sense of, give us a sense of exactly what President Macron will hope to achieve through this visit.
Paulami, if you see in times of war, there is only little that a leadership visit can do, but it's the optics. It's the fact that the leadership is in Israel when Israel is under attack or there's an ongoing war between Israel and the Hamas and Gaza Strip. So the optics matter. We've seen important leaders of the world go and express their solidarity, stand with Israel, which is what Macron is also doing. Also, message back home. There is a lot of messaging, if you see, not just for the international community or for Israel or for the region, but also the domestic audience. Whether it's Joe Biden to his domestic audience back home, or for that matter, German Chancellor or Rishi Sunak. All of them have come to show solidarity, but also a certain messaging back home. Here also, there will be messaging that no kind of terrorism will be allowed. But also the fact that the Palestinian question remains unresolved and that the two sides will have to, at some point, come to the negotiating table to discuss a resolution rather than live in such vulnerable positions that both parties live in, whether it's Israel, the state, or Palestine, which is yet to even be declared a state, Paulami.
That's right. Also, the kind of position that the French president has taken, which is, of course, a pro-Israel, a more pro-Israel Anglo-American line, this is distinctively in contrast to the traditional pro-Arab approach the French have had.
Absolutely, Paulami, because their stakes were higher in the region, whether it is the Arab world or particularly Africa, Egypt, North Africa. The stakes are very high for France. And the fact is that they understand the complexity and the nature of the politics that we see play out in the Arab world, particularly between Israel and Palestine. And therefore, his presence and his visit is going to be significant. But again, the conversation will be two-pronged. in fact multi-pronged, but the two important approaches would be to stand with Israel in fighting the Hamas or any such terror organization, which now includes Palestinian Islamic Jihad as well. But also the fact that humanitarian cost is becoming way too high and kind of untenable. So one has to draw a line as to how much of pounding can Gaza really take from here on. We know that Israel is looking at air capability only because ground offensive has become rather difficult. They're doing a very limited raids, going in and coming out. Going absolutely in would be very dangerous, and Israeli forces could just be sitting ducks given the situation of ambush that they could be faced with when they enter. So the conversations are going to be revolving around the approach, what Israel is going to do in the next steps that they're going to take, their course of action, as also will that course of action account for civilians living in Gaza.
That's right. Geeta, just stay on with us. Again, those images of the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's just arrived in Tel Aviv. He will meet with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He's also expected to meet the Israeli President as well. Geeta, is he expected to meet with the Palestinian President? Is he likely to make a stopover in any of the Arab capitals in the region?
Now there is no information, but it would be quite not out of normal for the French president, like Rishi Sunak did. In fact, apart from the other leaders who actually went to Israel and then went to other important Arab countries, Rishi Sunak actually did the rounds of all the important pertinent countries in the region. And unlikely that Macron will not be visiting various other countries, but no particular information whether he would be actually meeting Mahmoud Abbas. Going to Ramallah is not a possibility at this point in time, at this stage. But leaders are meeting Mahmoud Abbas, who's also known as Abu Mazen, in other countries, in third countries such as Jordan, Egypt, the peace summit that took place in Egypt. A lot of leaders met the Palestinian leadership outside of Ramallah. So we do not have a confirmation on whether he's going to meet Abu Mazen, but in all probability, there could be some other countries that he'll touch before he returns to France.